Marshall and Scott Adams side by side down the backstretch. Matt Marshall now with the lead. It's Marshall, Adams, Andy Freeze, and Kyle Merkel and David Williams. Your top 5 completing lap number 1. Matt Marshall now taking it out to about a 2-car length lead over Scott Adams. Andy Freeze third, now David Williams heating it up for 5th underneath of Kyle Merkel. Side by side, now David Williams slips past Merkel for 4th, but now Merkel comes back side by side under the stripe, 2 down. Oh, and there's contact. Adams making contact with Matt Marshall, but both cars continue. Now it's Adams to the inside of Marshall. And race fans, they're bunching it back up. Green is in the air, they're punching it, race fans, here we go. Now Marshall and Adams, still 1 and 2 coming out of turn 2 with Freeze, Kyle Merkel, and David Williams, your top 5. Now into turns 3 and 4. It's still Matt Marshall coming back, clicking lap number 3. Matt Marshall and Scott Adams peeking to the inside. But still, it's still Matt Marshall leading the way. Looks like a repeat of the previous lap. Here we go once again. Matt Marshall under the... Coming out of 4, green is in the air. We're back underway. They're punching it, race fans. David Williams quickly looking to the inside of Adams. He cannot make it work. Now Kyle Merkel and Andy Freeze side by side, both to each side of David Williams. And Kyle Merkel will scoot up to the 3rd spot. It's Matt Marshall, Adams now, Merkel to 3rd, Williams back to 4th. And Andy Freeze holding down the 5th spot. But hold the phone, look who's coming to the outside of Kenny Gear. That's Walker Arthur back in the 7th spot. Raced in front of Summy Lacey. Coming down, completing lap number 8. Now Scott Adams putting some heat on Matt Marshall. Matt Marshall with a great run, race fans. Now David Williams looking to the inside of Merkel for 3rd. Andy Freeze is 5th. Walker Arthur now has moved up to 6th. Dropping Kenny Gear to 7th. Again, Adams just sitting there. Is he negotiating what he'll do with Matt Marshall? He has looked to the inside several times. Could he be setting it up for an outside move? We've got a car that is slow. Indeed, it is the 27. He's come to pit road. Junior Carter to pit road. Looks like some damage on the right front. But back up front as we complete 11 laps, it's still Matt Marshall. Scott Adams, oh, and Scott Adams up on the cushion, and that let David Williams scoot to the inside. Now Scott Adams regaining his momentum. It's side by side off of 4, Adams and Williams. Andy Freeze now up to 4th, Kyle Merkel back to 5th. Walker Arthur is 6th. Matt Marshall now stretching out the lead just a bit now. Coming out of turn 4. And it looks like the David Williams machine is off the pace. David Williams taking that car pit side. David Williams with a great run. It's all gone away right now at the moment as he's to the inside pit lane. Now Matt Marshall now will catch the rear of this field. Matt Marshall now coming up on the lap machine of Andy Gregg. He has pulled out a good substantial lead over Scott Adams. Andy Freeze closes the gap now in 3rd with Merkel 4th and Walker Arthur to 5th. We're halfway at this point, race fans, 15 laps to go. And now Walker Arthur will scoot to the inside of Kyle Merkel down the backstretch. Give Walker Arthur one more spot as he slowly advances his way toward the front of this field. Matt Marshall negotiating this traffic. Now it's the Stacy car just in front. Marshall will now peek to the outside. Scott Adams will try to rifle through this lap traffic and catch Matt Marshall. Andy Freeze gaining now on Scott Adams. It's still Marshall, Adams, and Andy Freeze. Kyle Merkel back to the inside now. Walker Arthur. Merkel and Arthur trading that spot. Down, 12 to go, race fans. Matt Marshall having a bit of difficulty with the Stacy car. Now he goes to the outside. He dispenses of that car now, and he will now have to focus on Eddie Groom. It's still all Matt Marshall leading the way. Matt Marshall, now Andy Freeze. Andy Freeze to the inside of Adams. They're side by side. But Adams will use the Stacy car as a pick, and it keeps Andy Freeze at bay. Andy Freeze cannot make the move. Andy Freeze went from challenging for second to losing about 10, 15 car lengths. 10 laps remaining, race fans. 10 laps remain. Coming now, it's Matt Marshall on the verge of one of the biggest wins of his career if he can hold on to this spot. Matt Marshall doing a great job, race fans. He's coming out of turn 2 with about an 8-9 car length lead on Scott Adams. Andy Freeze will now have to regain his momentum here in turn 4 to make another challenge. But we're coming down to 8 to go. And we've got a spin in turn 2. Caution on the field, race fans. It looks like Freeze in third, Merkel and Walker Arthur. We're back under green. Oh, the 19 having his issues, but he keeps it going. Billy Tucker keeps it going. And now Andy Freeze scoots to the inside of Adams, and Kyle Merkel comes along for the run. And Scott Adams from second to fourth and a half a lap. And now Walker Arthur peeking to the inside of Adams. Now Andy Freeze is poised. Can he get to the inside of Matt Marshall? Coming down to 6 to go. 6 laps to go. Andy Freeze, he's gaining on Marshall. Freeze looks to the inside. They're coming off two side by side, race fans. I'll tell you what, this may be playing right into Andy Freeze. Here they come off of 4 with 5 laps to go. 5 laps to go. It is side by side for the lead. Now Matt Marshall with the momentum coming out of turn 2. Andy Freeze now will have to renegotiate. Hook back up, get back to the inside now of Marshall. Here we go again off of 4 with 4 laps remaining. What a race, race fans. Matt Marshall and Andy Freeze. Oh, and Andy Freeze bobbles just a bit. He's going to lose about 4 or 5 car lengths. That may be all Matt Marshall needed. Coming down with 3 to go. 3 to go. Can Andy Freeze regain the momentum? They have now pulled a good distance in front of Kyle Merkel. It's Matt Marshall and Andy Freeze to settle it. Coming down with 2 to go. Butch Mayo will show the sticks. It's 2 to go to settle between Matt Marshall and Andy Freeze. Now Andy Freeze peeks to the inside. Both trying to pick up their first ever, but now once again Andy Freeze bobbles a bit. Here we come into turns 3 and 4. White flag in the air, race fans, for Matt Marshall out of Stewart's Draft, Virginia. Matt Marshall looking good out of turn 2. Oh, and we've got cars looping on the inside 3 and 4. Oh, Matt Marshall just narrowly escaping that melee. And it is in the air. They're punching it, race fans. Freeze peeks to the inside, but it will not work. It's Matt Marshall now down the backstretch. It's Matt Marshall into 3. Matt Marshall has it, it looks like at this moment. Freeze peeks to the inside, but it will not happen. By a car length, Matt Marshall. Matt Marshall by a car length over Andy Freeze. Kyle Marquez